Some of us are outwardly successful, but inwardly feel unhappy and living a life lacking in purpose and meaning. The Necktie and the Jaguar by Carl Greer can help you discover what's important to you and how to go for it. For more information or to purchase the book, visit carlgreer.com. That's CarlGreer.com. Welcome to Shooting the Shift with Marilyn and Elizabeth. These light warriors, both native New Yorkers, walk their walk, talk their talk, and keep the real in the deal. This dynamic duo joined forces to assist you through your transformational journey one step at a time, empowering you with spiritual tools you can use in your daily life. Each show begins as a conversation creating an opening for spiritual connection. There are never any scripts, and Spirit is always illuminating the way, and that's when the shift hits the fan. The magical messages of the ancestors, spirit guides, and Gaia are respected, honored, and always given sacred space to communicate. Join Marilyn and Elizabeth as they shake shift up and do what they do best, speak from their hearts.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Marilyn.
Welcome back, right?
Yeah, welcome back. Here we are at Shooting the Shift. Boy, we sound really professional. I have to say, now that it's been nearly a month since we debuted our show, when we hear our intro, we get all excited. It sounds so good. For a long time, it was like running in my mind, like all the words jumbled because we did so many versions. And it really feels nice to sit and listen to our show intro and our music, Breakthrough.
Right, and remembering how hard we worked to get that, right? To have the right words, right? To feel the right words. Yeah,
for both of us too.
Exactly.
It's not as easy, when you're in a relationship, any kind, it's two souls meshing and it has to work for both, right?
Yeah.
So bravo, we did good.
We're
going to give ourselves a little clap, because today is about encouraging yourself. And here's my question out there in radio land for everyone who's listening. Are you your best advocate, or are you ambushing yourself and your self-confidence with what's going on between your ears? Now, I know this topic has probably been discussed many times on this radio, because this station is an awakening station, and it is about soul growth and being aware. But for me personally, I can't get enough of this stuff, I did a lot of thinking about self-talk, especially this week, because that was our topic, Marilyn. And, I've come a really long way. And I think we should start at the beginning of both our journeys as how we kind of flipped that switch so we could share it with people. Mm-hmm. But when I look back, I would have no friends, none. I would be completely alone on this planet if I talk to my friends the way I talk to myself. Yeah. When I look at pictures of myself and I go, oh my God, who is that beautiful girl? And it's me. And I hated myself. I was so brutal to myself. And now, years later and layers later, and still, we have the ticker tape parade in our heads. But I can really have great, great compassion for how much I helped damage that girl, right? So, that's our topic today, self-talk.
Yeah, and it was what we were taking in, right? What we were taking in, because we are constantly taking in messages, right? From the outside world, from everyone who's around us in our environment. And we are, tuning in, and we are receiving. And it's learning, that's the pattern that was developed, and is really, really powerful, because that pathway is very easy to fall back into, right? So if you make a mistake, or you say something, or you do something, and then you start to, maybe say to yourself, oh, how stupid of me to do that. Oh my God, what a dummy. Or, that negative self-talk, becomes instilled in you. And so what happens is that then you start to create limiting beliefs around that, right? Because you don't think you're smart enough, or you think that because you made a mistake, like it's the end of the world, and I learned to say, is it the end of the world, Marilyn, or not? Because if it isn't, then we're learning from this.
Is this going to matter in 5 minutes, 5 weeks, 5 years, right?
Yeah, because that's important.
Another thing too is, like, I always say this: the only person you are guaranteed to spend the rest of your life with is you.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
That's
you
it.
and God, spirit, source, whatever you want to call it, rainbows and unicorns, I don't care. But, it's you all day, every day.
Yeah, and learning to love yourself, right? And learning to speak kinder and gentler and with more compassion to yourself. And I know sometimes people will say, oh my goodness, you talk to yourself? I talk to myself. I do. And I have some, I love the answers I give myself as well. Okay.
Right. No, but that's good self-talk. That's when you get
and
to
that's
the next
the good
cycle.
stuff. Right. That's the good stuff. But it took me a long time to get there because there was a lot.
Let me ask you, Marilyn, what age did you start recognizing? I mean, it's different for everybody, of course, but what age do you think you started recognizing consciously, I need to really take hold and take charge of what I'm thinking and saying to myself? Wow,
that's a good one. I really would have a difficult time with that one because I was not really paying too much attention to what it was that I was believing or thinking about myself in my head, right? It was more about how do I take care of this one, and how do I take care of that situation, and how do I handle this? So I didn't really do the inner searching, right? I do have to say that I did recognize when I was in the workforce, right? In the real workforce, right? Because I don't want to say that when I was 14 or 15 or 16, I was, I was working, but it was different. It was a different kind of job.
You were still percolating and baking. You weren't a cake yet.
But when I was in the workforce and I started seeing how I was judging myself. I started noticing how I was judging myself in different areas, right? Like, I do have to say that I was somewhere close to my 30s when I realized, and to me, it's like, oh my God, how did you not know this? Like, how did you not know this? English is my second language.
Yourself. You have to entrench yourself to even see it.
Yes, and English is my second language. It is not my first. And
what
believe it or
mean?
not, well, I spoke Spanish before I spoke English. I learned Spanish before I learned English. So Spanish was my first language. And so when I was learning English, okay, it wasn't that easy because I knew how to write in Spanish. I knew how to read in Spanish, and I was young. And so what would happen is that when I would see the words in English and I would look at them and I knew I was spelling them correctly, but it didn't look right to me. It didn't look right to me. So I would make all kinds of mistakes and stuff. And then I would judge myself based on that. And then I realized when I was older, when it hit me, wait a minute, you're seeing things differently, right? Because you communicate also differently. And so I gave myself a break with that. And I said, it's not that you can't retain information. It's not that you're just not really great at, this, the spelling piece and all this kind of maybe pronouncing certain words. When you're looking at them, maybe you see them and they don't look right. But so I try to work around that and to say, it's okay. You know what? It's okay. I can speak two languages. I can read two languages. I may not be perfect, in them, but I can do those. And I should celebrate that, right? So as I got older, I started celebrating the things that I would how would I say, criticize, right, prior to, right?
Your accomplishments or acknowledging that you shifted. I mean, hello,
Yeah,
shooting the shift. You
yeah.
shift. It's interesting because I didn't even think of that until you started talking. I came from one parent that was extremely critical, and to the point that, my mother left them. And that was the best thing for me, but I was 4 at the time, and he was still in my life, and I've healed all this. This is not about talking about daddy issues at all, but that was instilled in me in a very early age. I wasn't pretty enough, thin enough, smart enough, and then my dyslexia kicked in, and nobody knew I had dyslexia. So there was about a year-long period where I couldn't do fractions, and I felt inadequate, awkward, stupid, and I had a very impatient parent that didn't know that I had a, condition. And so, I had so much stuff to remove from me. But I, like you, do not even feel like I've started becoming conscious of the self-talk in myself, really trying to shift it and be conscious of it until probably not even until my late 30s. That's when it really kicked in for me. And that was basically after I got divorced from my first husband, right? So, this is a big topic for me, a big topic.
Yeah,
And
I think for
me,
all of us, right?
Yes, of course. And for me, it comes up a lot around body image and body acceptance, because I was always a round kid, even though my mother would say I wasn't. But to my father, I was too round, right? And then I had ideas about myself. So later in life, it doesn't surprise me that when I did have my awakening and my dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it, it was around my body too, right? Because years of self pounding on myself.
Was storing
And
all of that, right? You were storing all of that.
collecting
That's energetic.
files of crap.
Yes, and it's
And
in
that's
the
what I
body.
wanted. Yes, and that was the big thing I wanted to say too, is that, if you think, well, what's the big deal? Someone out there might be saying this to themselves. What's the big deal? You're not hurting anybody. You're just talking to yourself. But that is a frequency that is speaking to the entire universe, including your own heart.
It's
right?
a toxic language, right? That you use on yourself. And the frequencies of that actually carry out, right? Through everywhere you are, that frequency, because it lives in you. And so what happens is that then we present with that frequency, and then we're vibrating in that. And that's not really what we want, right? We want to really clear that up. And, so it's about learning how to, treat ourselves better, love ourselves. Like, really seriously, I really believe that if we learn, I think that the number one thing should be to learn to love yourself first.
Right.
Before you even, put out all that, you put out all that love that you can, but it's so important to love yourself first, because from there, right, you are then, your energy and your frequency and your vibration will put out all that love, right? But when you have that inner battle about, you not being good enough or worthy, or, whatever it is, right? Or you're not fitting a certain image, or I don't look like, I think that that's an issue that maybe a lot of people have, right? I think back and I say, wow, I always used to think that I didn't see myself as beautiful. I really didn't. And people would say to me, oh my God, you're so beautiful. And I would be like, oh my God. You are so beautiful. I did not believe that. I didn't believe it.
I know. And it doesn't matter how many people will say it to you. Yeah. If you don't believe it, you will have nowhere to receive it. It cannot land in you.
Right. And so that's important, right? It's important.
And also, it is important. Like, I have to say, my go-to mama, my big awakening was Louise Hay, who was the founder of Hay House and Hay House Radio and Hay House Publishing Company, and her affirmations. And there's a lot of coincidences with her in the 80s, and she worked with the men in AIDS, the AIDS crisis. And she is the one who I was introduced to with the affirmations. So when you say loving yourself, ironically, I know this is a side note, but I have the same exact north and south node as Louise Hay in 11 degrees, Capricorn and Gemini. And the reason I wanted to, I'm sorry, Cancer. And the reason I wanted to share that is that particular aspect is about loving yourself through everything. And that was Louise Hay's path. And that why she was the mama to me, the beginning, the opening, the gateway of everything with the thinking and the conscious thinking. And when I was introduced to her, I was like, oh, loving yourself through everything. How, okay. Like, it's not like you flip a switch and you go, I love me,
it takes so much time. It's a lifetime.
And it took me years and years to get to the point where I actually felt comfortable in my own head without all the chatter, baggage, whack-a-mole, giant rawhide mallet, ticker take parade on its little rant every day. And it's scientifically proven you can reprogram your thoughts.
Oh, yeah, you can. Because you just have to practice catching yourself. Yeah. And then gently and lovingly and kindly, right? Rephrasing it, right? All we have to do is learn how to rephrase that. Be gentle and kind. We don't have to say, oh my God, here I go again. I did it again. Damn it. Oh, stupid. Anything like that. We just have to say, we just have to be aware of the self-talk, right? And then we have to witness it. And then we can learn how to shift it with a new phrase or a new belief, right? Like sometimes we can say
cancel.
Cancel
I mean,
works
that's
too.
What I learned that from Ilanya Van Zandt. Cancel.
Yes.
Or how we say knock on wood. Why do we say that? It's from superstition that if you said something scary, if you knocked on wood, you would distract the spirits from making it happen because they couldn't hear you because it was. So I love that.
So
because
let's knock
that's
on
basically
wood.
what you do. No,
yes.
It's like have a signal for yourself when you. Marilyn, boy, Wednesdays come really fast, and so does the 20-minute mark. I can't even believe
we're there.
So, so we're going to come right back with continuing our chatter on self-talk. So come back, and we'll be right back.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Welcome back to Shooting the Shift with Marilyn and Elizabeth, and we are talking about the chatter that matters, the chatter between our ears, what's going on in our own heads, and how to make ourselves even conscious about it. And we're sharing our experiences a little bit about, Marilyn and I, we just get on a roll and we start talking, and before we know it, it's like time to go. And really feed off each other in a really positive way, and we just kind of spark each other. And so the one thing we were talking about yesterday when we were having our little Zoom meeting, Marilyn, is, nobody can fix you. People want to always, look for that, take the blue pill versus the red pill. This will be the pill, It doesn't work that way. So how do you get fixed, right?
Right. You got to find the right, right. But you have to find the right, what fits you. It's not what fits another person, right? Because
you fix you.
But it's also about what fits you, right? Because if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, it's important to just let it go and try some other method, right? Instead of trying to make it happen. Like a lot of times we say, oh, well, so-and-so did it this way, so I'll do it that way. And then it's not working. And then you get frustrated. And then you start beating yourself up again. And you start going through the language, the communication.
It doesn't work. There's no hope for me. Yada, 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 yada.
Yeah. And so sometimes, right, it's important, right, to say, when you catch yourself, to say that you're happy about it. I'm happy that I caught myself and that I'm conscious and aware of my actions, right? This is a way to change the thinking process, right? Because if we can catch ourselves, whether it's even if you already did it or said it, it doesn't matter what point you did it. If you caught it, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Because, and if you didn't catch it, the other thing is to say, I'll get it next time. I'll catch it next time. It's okay. Because when we start to create those new ways of thinking, right, we are actually creating new pathways, right? New pathways. And, I look at the patterns almost like, I think we were talking about this maybe 2 weeks ago, you and I, on Zoom, and it was about, how you create, there's a path that is easier to go into, to slide into, because it's already, an easy, smooth way of doing it. Even though it's painful, it's so familiar, but it could be very painful and self-destructive. But the other thing is that the other one, the one that hasn't been carved out yet, the one that you are going to be carving out, is going to be just as smooth. But it's going to be so amazing because it's going to uplift you, right? It's going to inspire you. It's going to help you to shift the way you see the world and how you see yourself in the world. And that's always so important, right? Because, and then in the beginning, of course, you're going to have a little bumps, bumpy ride. Of course, it's going to be a little difficult to get, into that new pattern and that new rhythm. I also use music. Like I use music, I sing, I dance, I talk it out. I use my breath, right, to move that energy out so that I can feel better about it, right? Because it's about finding what tools it is that you need to bring yourself back to center, to an understanding that you are worthy, that you are enough, that you have gifts that are just waiting to be unwrapped. But first you have to be able to tap in and love yourself. Love yourself.
Of course, but it is in stages. You just made me think about, I'm so dating myself now, and it's a disco song. But I love that song with Donna Summers and Barbara Streisand. Enough is enough is enough is enough. And that really gets me going when I'm feeling like negative about something and I just want to shut the door on it. I'll put that on and I'll just dance like a spaz. I don't care. It's just to shake it out of my body. The first thing I had to do was I had to take that giant rawhide whack-a-mole mallet and throw it in the mucket bucket. I just had to say, you know what? This has to stop. That was what worked for me. Like, I made a contract with myself, I wrote it out, and I signed it. And that worked for me because I had to make a vow to myself that I was going to do everything I could to reprogram myself. I wasn't going to be perfect. It wasn't about that. It was about, I am more powerful than my egomaniac ticker tape parade and the messages I got from other mentors and people that I let impressionate me, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I had Post-its all over my house at one point, everywhere, from Louise's book, I am enough, I am beautiful, I am whatever it was, everywhere. To the point people would come and go like, wow, you got a lot of Post-its, And I didn't really care because I didn't start seeing them after a while.
Right.
So, but it was changing in my brain, and then I would write new ones. And so for me, it was a constant pattern of repatterning my thinking. So I do want to say a bit of it for me was fake it till you make it. And my go-to mantra always was all is well, everything's working out for my highest good, out of the situation or these thoughts, I am safe, right?
Yeah,
it's my highest good. And that's Louise Hay, my go-to mama. And so even if it just meant shutting them up, it wasn't like I was saying like I'm beautiful if I didn't believe it. It wasn't about shoving things down and covering them up. It was about shutting them up because I needed to shut them up before I could start adding more lovely things. So that was a technique that really worked for me. I could only share my own
Mine was
experience.
so different. Yeah, mine was different because I didn't do it that way. Like for me, it was more the recognizing the thought because, I would say it, sometimes it would even come out, like I would say it out loud, like, oh my God, what I could say something like, what a stupid thing to do or something like that. And then I'd have to go, oh, wait a minute. No, I didn't know, right? I didn't know how to do that. I'm learning. Right,
you
it's okay.
were learning how to become an advocate.
I'm learning how to do this. So whenever I was, let's say making mistakes or I'm learning from them. I'm learning from my mistakes. So I would present the mistakes as it's a learning experience for me. It's something that's teaching me something instead of something that I'm judging from, like, oh my God, I couldn't do it. Or no, I was able to see it from, and I would write on my windows, with one of those erasable markers, and I would write phrases, and I would write mantras, and I would write prayers, for my highest and greatest good, and I would just do whatever it was that I needed to do to. And I journaled a lot. I mean, I have journals like nobody's business.
Journaling is so important because, another thing is you can write down your stuff and then you can burn it, you can shred it, you can, if you feel like you need to get it out of you and you've got negative energy, you're not saying squash it down and ignore it.
No,
sometimes filtering it out, getting it out. The other thing I wanted to say, like, relax, I know, because I'm going to get scientific, which I never, ever do. So not the left brain girl. But so I don't even know if I have that right. Do I have that right? Left brain, right brain. So, the science of it, because, I do say fake it till you make it, but there is really truth to this because when we learn something new, we create new connections between our neurons in our brain. We actually rewire our brains to adapt to new circumstances. So it has been scientifically proven that we can encourage and stimulate new thinking that will blanket the olds. So one is going, one is coming in.
And I think that in helping you to do this work is to understand why you feel the way you feel, right? Why you are saying the words, why you are choosing those words, right? Because when you know, then you're able to go back and find the story, right? And find that story that created this false belief that that you're holding on to. And that way it helps you as well. I really am a firm believer in the feeling place and following that, because it's usually, it guides you exactly where you need to go. When you're saying something, it's because you're feeling something. And when you're feeling something, it's because you're thinking something. And when you're thinking something, it's because there's a story that's behind that. And if we can kind of like follow that, if we can just follow that. And look, I'm not saying we're going to do this every second of our lives, because it's not going to work like that. No. you're gonna go in and out, back and forth, 10 steps forward, 6 steps back,
exactly.
10 steps forward, 3 steps back. Yes,
It
and
is.
so that's why I say, let's dance. Let's do this dance.
Right, it is a dance. And that's another thing, getting out of your head and into your body.
And I need to
That
find my
helps.
rhythm, right? I need to find my rhythm. Like you find your rhythm, and everyone finds their own rhythm, and then they can, flow, right? Because when you're in somebody else's rhythm, it doesn't work, right?
Energy goes where your attention flows, right? I mean, we all know that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're talking about. And, a lot of it is learning how to be gentle with yourself. And because I don't know about you. I can only speak for me, but my inner critic is like, yada, 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 really loud, really mean, and it's not that energy of flow and allowing. It's constricting and beating and bashing and crashing. And it feels very different in our bodies when we start changing that and shifting that. And another thing I want to say is, one of my favorite comics of all time, and I couldn't find it. Not that I could show you in Radio Land, but it's like, it makes me laugh every time. I couldn't find it. It's like when you finally realize you meet the one that's been causing all your problems, and it's in the comic, they open the door and there's you with the gun at you. Like, and it just makes me laugh, because really it all starts inside between our ears and what we're allowing.
Right, and we
you
can
are
shift
the mama
that.
of your
exactly, and we can shift that, and we can shift it in a gentle way and slowly. I don't believe that speed is the answer, because when you're trying to do it like speeding, you're going to miss too many important glitches that are there in place, right? So it's important to do it slowly, but consistently. And to, be your best advocate, right? To, stand up for yourself, right? Be able to say, it's almost like if there's an inner battle, right? That's, like pushing and tugging and doing all these things. You can say, hold on a minute, hold on. I'm not agreeing with this right now. I need to better understand what is actually going on. What is it that I'm believing right now that I'm going into that place of self-sabotage, right? Or, self-criticism. All of those things are important to remember and to know.
Sometimes I wish that we had like a little video on ourselves, like where we could have like this has been brought to you by your spirit and higher self, right?
Yeah.
And there it is, showing you like how you talk to a 4-year-old about, oh, here, 4-year-old. Oh, you're hungry, sweetheart? Let's get you something to eat. This is here's an apple and some peanut butter. And then here's me. You don't need to eat. You can go another hour. It's okay. You got to get this job done. It's not just about being critical of ourselves. It's also about pushing ourselves and overextending ourselves and knowing when we need to nurture ourselves instead of pushing through and getting stuff done.
And that's where loving yourself comes in, because it encompasses just everything. Because if we love ourselves, then we also know how to say no, and we also know when to say yes, and we also know what is okay for us and what isn't, and what fits and what doesn't fit, and we take ourselves off the shame, blame, guilt game, right? And we're just
blame,
flowing.
Guilt game. You go, girl.
Yeah.
I mean,
right?
because if you saw that video and you saw yourself talking to that 4-year-old like that, you could go another hour. You don't need to eat. Push through. Stop
that
whining.
Would be terrible.
You would be like,
Make me
oh
sad.
my God, I'm a terrible, horrible, hurtful human being. But you don't do that for yourself. You don't say, what? You know, that gentle, soft space. Yeah, we all need to find that gentle, soft place to land with ourselves. And like you said, if you do it 1 out of 10 times, woohoo! That's a start, you know?
Yes.
It's not like keeping, the mark.
The score, yeah. And you know what? The other thing is, if you caught it at the end, right, you can always say, yes, that's so wonderful.
That's right.
I caught it. And I can do better. I can do better next time. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And then, you can also fill that thought that you just want to negate, right? So fill it with the appropriate thought, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I am intelligent, I am worthy, I am enough, I matter. I mean, whatever it is that you need.
Sometimes, right? I mean, we say the walk and the walk and the talk and the talk and the real and the real. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I go, like, okay, look, this is as good as it gets today, and that's okay. That's way better than, oh, what is this little line? What is this? It's way better because this is as good as it gets today, and hooray for me, right? It doesn't always have to be this shiny, buffy, sparkly, pinky, BS to yourself.
And we were talking about how aging and the wrinkles and how important it is to remember that it's a privilege that we are given. Let's
talk about this when we come back, because I think that's a big topic for women. I really do. Coming up, we're going to talk about moving forward, aging with grace and love and self-compassion and all of that, because it is a privilege. So we're going to be right back, and we're going to be continuing the chatter that matters on Shooting the Shift.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Coping 19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
With everything going on, there may be times you feel like you can't handle it all. Journaling, meditating, and talking with friends and family can help you feel more grounded and better able to cope. Your kids are also going through a lot of new experiences, and simply talking with them about their feelings can be quite powerful.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Welcome back. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about how what we're thinking mentally, right, and physically we are feeling it as well, right, and how to change how we see things, right. So I kind of made a little
list. Aging or everything?
I kind of went off into a little bit different, but in the aging piece, well, let's go back to the aging, right? The aging piece has to do with having the privilege, right? Of having those wrinkles, having that gray hair, right? Being able to be around long enough, right? Because I consider all of that wisdom, right?
Yeah. I've outlived my dad a decade. And when I hit that milestone, you realize, wow, how lucky you are, right? I've lost both parents, of course, but there is something about the appreciation of having the right and the privilege of growing old. And also, I want to say to women out there, I'm 58. I don't have any problem saying how old I am, but something about 55 you really start realizing, for me, that, wow, time's getting shorter and I'm getting older, right? And I'm no longer the attractive young girl that's trying to attract a mate. I'm not saying that's not important at all, but I'm not the same person I was in my 30s. And when I look at those lines and I look at my body, and I've been through a lot with my body because of my surgeries, it's just now I realize what's important is how much I love myself through this life and how much I help others. And if I have to be in grace around that, because I earned this body, I earned this brain, I earned this heart, I earned this wisdom. And that is what I have to embrace, because I can focus on everything going south, because there's no way it's not. We're human, it's flesh. But that is really not the part I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on the grace and the wisdom and the ability and the knowledge, right? So I do think it's important to be kind to ourselves as we start aging, because it's almost like reverse puberty. It's like, wow, I just figured out how to get comfortable in my skin, and here we go this way. It's a whole different part of your life.
Yeah, and loving yourself, right? Loving yourself no matter what. I never looked at it as the looks were the most important thing. I just never did. I never saw that. For me, it was, the thinking brain, right? How I saw people. It's like whenever I would see a person, right, I would see the whole person. And it's interesting because I always thought that everybody could see what I saw or was experiencing it the same way. And it's interesting because I was able to see within, right? So I was never really focusing on the outside of the person. I was really focusing on the inside of the person, how that person, just like how their energy vibrated in the world.
But
and
what about yourself?
How I looked at myself?
No, you started aging. Did you find that was a new level of loving yourself and being kind to yourself in new ways that hadn't showed up before, is my question.
I think that I'm 63, so I have to tell you that
she looks 43. Everybody on the radio can't see her. She's gorgeous. She doesn't look 63. I'm just going to tell you.
That piece doesn't resonate with me because for whatever reason, and I don't really understand it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff probably, and I mean, a lot of trauma stuff behind it, but I never focused on how I looked. I just always focused on how I was in the world, how how people experienced me in the world. And I know that sounds like, but go ahead.
I'm not just talking about how you look. Also, like for me, I get those messages sometimes now, like time's running out. How are you going to write that book because you're hitting 60? Like you've got shit to do.
Well, here I am.
Right?
Here I am,
but,
right?
So I have to change that dynamic, right?
Right.
For me.
Right.
Yeah.
But here I am on the radio, right? Because
shooting the shift.
Exactly, because for many years, many years, right? I have been writing and I have been channeling information and I have been guided to do a lot of different things. But because there was such fear around it, I would never, take the leap, right? That I needed to take. So that's why I got to say, I'm so thankful for you, Elizabeth, in my life, because you know what? I needed somebody to say, let's do this. Let's hold hands together and let's jump, man. Let's just jump. Let's do it. And I
Sacred
feel
soul,
good about
sister.
it, right? And I feel good about it because it's important to be able to, I'm still not feeling 100% comfortable, right? But I know that I'm getting there. And I always, celebrate when I'm done, with the radio. I always go, you did it, right? Because I got out here and I'm talking. And eventually, as we continue to move, I'll be able to share a lot more, right? Because I know that I'm just preparing. And I know that the guides are preparing me as well. Because I have always said, gentle, with ease and grace, please. Gentle. Be gentle with me, please, right? Because, there was one time when I got that shift and it was too hard.
Yeah, no, and that's so important that you say that. Seriously, that's what I was talking about for people who don't know astrology out there. The Capricorn South Node is like you're trying to leave the I can do it face down in the puddle. I can breathe while I'm kicked and I never give up. Go, go, go. And I'm moving to that sweet, loving, nurturing, gentle place like you treat a beautiful child you love, right? So you do that with yourself. Same thing you're saying. And it is a journey, right? There's not a destination. So I know I just wanted to cover that because we said we were gonna. I know you had something else you want to cover now, so go for it.
Yeah. So because I made a list, right, of the things that you can say, like how to change how you see things in the world, right? So the first thing is, sometimes you say things are happening to me. Change that. Things are happening for me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you see it differently.
Yes.
I can't.
I love that.
When you say I can't, change that. Say I choose not to. I choose not to, because you own your power there. And with the I can't, you're giving up your power. So I choose not to. So I'm sitting in my power, right?
That's right.
I have to do this. Well, no, change that up. I get to do this. I get to do this. What a privilege. I get to do this, right? Or things are falling apart. Well, what about things are falling together?
Yeah.
For my highest and greatest good,
together.
right? Yes. Or I'm limited. Sometimes people say I'm limited. No, change that perspective. Say I am limitless.
Yes.
I am limitless, right?
I want to say something to that because I've been really doing well with my health and what I'm eating. And sometimes I catch myself and I would say, I can't eat that, like to my husband, because he's like eating pizza or something. And I'll go, I can't eat that. And I'm like really snippety because I kind of want to. But then I say, I can eat whatever I want, but I'm choosing to eat this because it's going to make me happier ultimately, right? So I have learned that, right? Because I used to really set myself up for being snarky and mad because I couldn't have it, which was really not true. I could have had it. I chose not to.
You could have had it. You just chose not to. But you see the difference between saying I can't? I can't is you relinquishing your power. And when you say I choose not to. My God, look at the power that's in that. I love that.
Marilyn,
I use that all the time.
I mean, yes, as soon as you tell me, like somebody says, you can, I don't think you could do that. I'm like, well, you're just going to watch me perfect that shit. Because you tell me I can't do something, I'm 10 times going to do it more.
Or you
that's
can
my
say,
determination.
Or you can say, I can do that. I just choose not to because it's something you might not want to be doing. Because sometimes people will say that because they want you to do it. So I can step back. I can step back in my power and say, well, I know that I can, but I choose not to.
Right. I know. Right? And you're so
That's
like,
important.
I told you, stuck on glue, not on you, whatever that was when we were like 3 or 4 or 5. That was good. I really like that. Also, one of my favorites is I always say these two things, and they're not mine. The universe is conspiring for me, right?
Yes.
And the other one is, what's the best thing that could happen? Because everybody says, what's the worst thing?
I know.
What's the best thing that could happen?
Yeah.
Right there, all the little angels are going, ah, and the Red Sea parted, instead of what's the worst thing that could happen, and then, the floods come, right? I think it's so important because of the frequency. It's not even so important what we say, but it's the intent behind it that creates everything, right?
Yeah, and if it feels like it's the end of the world, because sometimes you can feel that way. You really can. I mean, your mind and your physical self can go there. But the other thing is, understand, wait a minute. Is it the end of the world? Yeah. And maybe you do have to dive in. And maybe you do have to have that pity party. And maybe you do have to scream and cry and, go through whatever the emotions are. I really believe in purging. Purging is important. We need to allow that energy that is vibrating in us, that wants to come on out, to come on out. And we have to give it safe passage. That is so important. A lot of times we want to hold it down. No, because I want to be strong. You know where strength comes in? When you're able to say, I'm strong enough to let this thing go. I'm strong enough to breathe this thing out. I'm strong enough to yell this thing out. I'm strong enough to just allow this energy to move where it needs to move, so that it doesn't continue to resonate in me, right? All these things are so important.
Being brave is not about being brave. Being brave is about being scared to death and doing it anyway. That's what bravery really is.
For sure. Yes.
So if you're willing to look at how am I programmed, be your own self-detective, and willing to change the dynamics, that's all you need. You're right there at your goal mark. Whatever works for you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just what are you believing?
Mark.
Always remember, what is it that you are believing? Because that is what you continue.
Where you are.
Right. Because that's how you continue to go into that cycle and stay in that cycle. But the moment that you're able to reveal it, to acknowledge it, then you can move in that, right? So that's really important. Yeah, it's really important to do that.
We could have a month of self-talk shows probably. And we are going to start probably having callers in the new year, and we're going to start having guests every once in a while, or at least people that would like to work with me and Marilyn. So it's not just about us blabbing, although I have to say that this is what we love to do. And we hope you enjoy listening to us, because we really want to help uplift people. And some of these things maybe you've heard, and maybe we just need the reminders and the next step. I know I do, Marilyn.
Yeah, and it could have been, you know what the other thing is that you just a little nugget. Sometimes it's just a little nugget that you need. Sometimes there's a word that you needed to hear. Sometimes it's a phrase. Sometimes, you just needed the reminder, right? And so that's what's important, right? That you're able to say, wow, this has got me thinking about how I am in the world, and how I see myself in the world, and how I really want to resonate in the world, right? Because these things are really important, right?
And wait till you see how your life changes and the new things that come in because of the frequency that you've changed. It's miraculous. I mean, it really is.
And it does change, and it really does change. And you know what? It's interesting, because in the beginning, you don't notice it. But then there's that one day, I don't know, it could be months after.
I'm not thinking like that anymore.
And you're going,
what?
Oh my goodness, what happened? Or you hear people saying, what happened to you? Something different about you. Or, they can see it, and they're experiencing you differently. And that's because of your internal dialogue.
Like that either.
But your internal dialogue has shifted. But a lot, the people that matter are the people that you need to concern yourself with, right? Like look, not everybody's going to love me, and that's okay. That's just life. I'm okay with that. I don't have to get caught up in that energy. I just go, it's okay. You don't have to love me. Right?
I know that's the biggest thing for me. I used to want everyone to like me. I wanted to be nice to everyone. You know what? That's a big waste of bunk and time because
I'm still nice to everybody, though.
Well, I was just gonna say I'm compassionate to everyone. I am kind to everyone, but I don't need to be approved. I need to prove me. I'm the only one. This is
You don't
the
want
only
to give up.
Because if you believe the good stuff people say about you, you have to believe the bad stuff they say too. So you can't put too much weight in what other people say unless it resonates with your own soul. That's my bottom line, right? For me, that's what works. Because you got to really be okay with you. That's it. All right, my goodness, we've got 3 minutes, Marilyn. I'm just going to say really quick, if you'd like to reach out to me or know more about me, you can go to my website, angelwithanedge.com, or you can find me on Facebook. I'm still on there. I'm nice, and there's no quarreling going on my page, elizabethlindsay.com. Marilyn, how can people find you?
UniversalSacredMedicine.com. So that's how you can find me. And yeah.
And we've done it again. We're wrapping up a show. You got something beautiful for us as usual, Marilyn?
I do. So I'm going to start by calling in all warriors of love and light to assist us today. I am in the process of rediscovery, honoring my place, my courage, my vulnerability, my fears, my emotions, my wisdom, and my power. Tethered to the stories and the experiences, I call out the overcharged emotional energies that are tethered to my body, mind, and soul. With full and complete authority, I infuse these energies with love and light and lift them to the powers that be to transmute and reveal the true messages, the wisdom that lay dormant after each storm. I address the storms that live within to surface with the true understanding of each storm. May it be revealed unto me, for I accept my power. So be it. So be it.
So be it. Peace and blessings.
Blessings, love, and light. See you next week.